Welcome to the class on the lymphatic system and the immune system and how it relates to our health. The reason for these videos is that there has been a plethora of misinformation, a lack of information on exactly how our immune system works and how we can protect it or encourage it to work better. So this is Dr. Mary. I am a naturopathic doctor, and I am what they call a traditional naturopath. And I use a plethora of tools to support people in maintaining or getting back to balance. I love sharing natural remedies with people. These remedies have been around for hundreds, even sometimes thousands of years because they work. In today's class, I am going to talk about how the lymphatic system relates to our immune health. In other videos, I've done information on how the immune system works and how many different things interrelate with the immune system. And the lymphatic system is just another part of how our body works let me enter somebody here. There we go. Good morning. If you would like to enter the room, hi there. And if you would like to speak, I encourage you to kind of hold back your questions until the end of the class because I tend to go off in tangents and then the class lasts a bit longer than I want it to. So I thank you for joining me today. When we talk about the lymphatic system, this branch is actually correlated to our circulatory system. So they can, let me just switch here. And move on to the next slide. Well, all right. Okay, sorry, I'm still new to the whole process here of how the Zoom works, and it's kind of stuck on my slide. So let me go to share, start again. Huh. Sorry about that. Just hang in there for a second. Nope. Want to advance. Okay, well, we will do something different. There we go. So what is the lymphatic system? Well, you can see on the screen here, all these little green things and where it comes from, it pretty much goes all over the body. And it interrelates with the bones, the liver. We'll talk about all the organs that are associated with the lymphatic system, but it is considered a complementary system to the circulatory system. It removes fluid from the spaces around the cells, known as lymph, and transports it back to the circulatory system through a series of one-way ducts. And we'll get into that in just a little bit. So the lymphatic system is also an important part of the immune system. And that's one of the reasons why we're discussing this today, because of all the fear that has been presented in practically everything that you turn on and watch, there's going to be something about COVID and how dangerous it is. And actually, yes, it can be very dangerous. But the thing is that we do have an immune system, and the more we know about our immune system, the less dangerous this becomes, because you can do something to support your immune system. So why does this information matter? Well, this network of lymphatic vessels and nodes act like a giant drainage and filtration system for the body. So it dumps into the kidneys for elimination. So you can see how many different areas that are related to immune health. In previous videos, I've talked about how important it is to be aware of the mucous membranes and the skin, and that this fallacy of washing your hands 20 times a day is actually stripping your hands of the normal protection that your immune system has on your hands, and that there is a certain pH that we need to pay attention to. So you can go to my YouTube channel, and there are many other videos on the immune system, and they usually last less than a half hour. And so when you're feeling a little bit nervous and that, just, I want you to know that you have control over your health, that you do not have to be fearful of, you know, in January, would you ever think that you had to stand 6 feet apart from somebody to have a conversation, or that you could cover your smile with a mask just to be out in public? There's so many things that we now think are what we have to do, and in a way we do because they've been mandated. But I would like this to go away as soon as possible, but it will never go away as long as this fear continues. We must share these videos with other people so that they too can understand that we no longer have to be afraid to be with other people, to have conversations, and to look at somebody and be able to see their smile and hug. You know, when's the last time you've hugged? It's just criminal the way that we've been mandated to be unsocial and to abide by these rules that they put out because of poor information. So the lymphatic system includes the thymus. Now the thymus, as you can see, is right here. If you were to do like a Tarzan yell, you pound your chest above, below the collarbone and above actually the chest, you can actually encourage the thymus to grow. And we're going to find out a little bit more about, actually I created a video about the thymus in one of my immune classes. But it actually is the way our body creates T cells. Now this interrelates with what we call the interferon part of the immune system. So that's where T cells and B cells are manufactured by, first the thymus manufactures T cells. Now these can also be thought of as target cells, and the target cells will go in and identify microbes, and when it's working efficiently, it can identify bad from good. And that's really what we want. We want our thymus to be nice and strong and to be able to handle and determine which of these microbes, whether it's friendly or not friendly. And then the next is the spleen. Now the spleen gets rid of old blood, and it actually filters the blood. It also keeps on hand red blood cells and platelets in case they are needed by the body. And it works like a backup system for the body. I heard recently that every organ system has a genetic cell that's inside the spleen, that when that system becomes defunct, the spleen can actually create new cells to bring that organ system back. It's really an amazing organ. And both the thymus and the spleen, the tonsils and the adenoids, have been discounted in medicine as insignificant, along with the appendix. Now, we know God did not put spare parts in our body, that all of these have a function. They used to think that the thymus, well, the only function it had was in early childhood, because as we aged, it became rigid and actually shrunk. Well, that's because we don't know enough about keeping our thymus healthy. And we now know that keeping the thymus healthy is paramount if we want a healthy immune system. So because it manufactures these T cells that target infectious organisms. The spleen is very instrumental, and a lot of people are walking around, they don't have a spleen because for some reason they've been in an auto accident or whatever, and the spleen has been taken out, which, I'm not saying that that was the wrong thing to do. Sometimes you need to do things like that to save your life, but I think that medical doctors need to look further into how these organs and systems work together. The tonsils and the adenoids form a ring of lymphoid tissue around the throat that can detect pathogens as they enter the mouth. Now, how important is that in the COVID? And when have you heard anything about supporting your tonsils and adenoids during this epidemic? Nothing. You've heard nothing about this. And these are the first area that if we breathe in an organism, that the tonsils and adenoids will detect it with this lymphoid tissue, that there are cells in that lymphoid tissue ready and willing to work on detecting the pathogen. So it is very, very important. So this is a little chart that I got from a video, and I'll in another slide show what video you can look at to get the whole explanation. But the blood flow, you can see that the blood flows through these different arteries and down into the branches, and it becomes narrower and narrow and becomes arterioles, and then finally capillaries. And you see how there's a little blue area, and that's when there's oxygen exchange. It's in the capillaries that there's oxygen exchange. Now, capillaries have walls that are only 1 cell thick, and they're slightly porous. There's 20 liters of fluid seeping out of the capillaries to become part of the interstitial fluid. Now, remember when I said that the interstitial fluid is where the B cells and T cells flow. There's 17 liters that get absorbed back into the capillaries. So they send these messengers out, the clear fluid goes back into the capillaries, but 3 liters are left behind in the tissues. Then that's to do their investigative work. So here's that very end of how that looks. You can see here this is the blood, and this is where there's oxygenated blood, and this is the lymph. The green area here is the lymph, and they're taking a small portion here, which is the lymphatic capillary. So the lymph system also has these very, very fine capillaries. They're porous that fluids can come in and out of the capillary. So that's how fluids get exchanged. And when those get damaged, then we get a blister, or we get some kind of a formation uh, where it shouldn't be, basically. So lymphatic vessels collect interstitial fluid that is excess to, so the blood and lymph have to constantly remain the same. And so they do this exchange type of thing automatically. This is part of our automatic system. We don't have to do anything to control this. So once the interstitial fluid is in the lymphatic vessel, it is now called lymph. So it's not a closed loop. Like the blood system is a closed loop, and it wanders all over the place, but it is considered a closed loop. Whereas this is not. These little flaps here can allow fluid to flow through and go where it's needed. So here's a better picture of the lymphatic capillary and how you can see where the interstitial space is, and the collagen filaments that are attached to it. Do you have a question? Okay, so when pressure in the interstitial space is lower, the one-way mini valves will shut. So that's how it keeps that constant pressure in the capillary. So they have no pump like the heart. So the lymph capillary retains its shape by the way of these little collagen fibers. And when you don't have enough collagen in your system, these little hair-like projections dry up. So you may have heard of people taking collagen. It actually is a protein that is really necessary throughout the body for structure. Fluid can move out or stay depending on what is needed according to the pressure. So we don't have a pump for our lymphatic system, and we'll discuss later on how you can encourage the movement of this. But from the capillaries, it goes up into vessels, then into trunks, and then into the lymphatic ducts. So smooth muscle works it, and here's what it looks like when you can see the picture. And here is the YouTube video that you can go to that discusses, I think it's like a 15-minute video, all of the interactions of how the lymphatic system works. It's a really good video and very well presented. So what I want you to look at is the junction where you can see it below the collarbone, and how those two branches come off. Remember when I said about the thymus and to tap under the collarbone? So you're also, while you're encouraging the thymus, you're also encouraging duct flow, and that's really important. So lymphatic ducts and veins, and you can see here where we have the right lymphatic duct empties at a junction of the right internal jugular and right subclavian veins. So that's how it goes into the bloodstream through the veins at that point. Then there's a thoracic duct empties into the junction of the left internal jugular and left subclavian veins. And then we have one further down here, which is more inside. These others are pretty much on the outside, the ducts. So from these ducts, the lymph is either dumped into the jugular veins or the subclavian veins. Subclavian veins should not be confused with subclavian arteries, which carry oxygenated blood to the brain. Keeping lymph fluid clear and moving depends on deep breathing and movement. So it is part of what we call the transportation system. It can move hormones from place to place. So how important is it? It's majorly important, I feel. It can deliver fatty acids from the stomach to the tissues, and it can move out toxins. The lymph nodes clean up toxins and move clear lymph back into the system. So this is a basic lymph node, and these immune cells, this is a B cell, and they identify pathogens. So the B cell creates antibodies that code and create a memory of that particular bacteria, virus, or pathogen for future recognition by the immune system. So if you have a virus, by the way, we live with thousands of viruses in us. So, people are all this germophobic, and that our body needs this information so that I can code it and identify it. So it is not such a scary thing as we are led to believe. I think in 5 years, this is going to be the biggest fallacy ever. There will be books written about the 2020 and how people blocked their vision in 2020. So the nodes are found in the neck, armpit, groin, and intestinal wall. And oftentimes you can palpate and actually feel it. And there's something called lymphatic massage that there are people trained to do that help move lymph. It's really good, like if a woman has had breast surgery and she has lymphoma, or not lymphoma, but where the lymph is not moving, but they removed a lot of the lymph, so the very few of them are there, and you need to move the lymph, otherwise you get this swelling that occurs in the congestion of fluids. So support for the lymph system, keep it moving. Walking and deep breathing are huge. You need to keep moving, because remember, there's no heart that pumps the blood like no pump like the heart that pumps the blood. And so you need to keep moving, keep that fluid going. You can do mechanical massage to clear lymph from congested nodes. You can do skin brushing. So this is basically what they call a skin brush. You do it dry, you don't do it in the shower, but you can do it before your shower in the tub. And there are certain progressions. So you start like at the wrist and you massage down toward, it always goes toward the heart. You start at your ankles and you move up. You can work the groin and work up the other way. You want to be particularly careful of the breast tissue or the groin area. The face is not done. There's a more gentle scrub that you can do, but it exfoliates, it reduces cellulite, it improves blood circulation. If you have dry skin and you're constantly putting lotion on, it's because you're not sloughing off this layer of dead tissue, and what you're trying to do is regenerate dead tissue. But if you did skin brushing, you will have lovely moist skin, because what you're doing is getting that lymphatic system moving, and the sebaceous glands are flowing and moisturizing as it goes. And taking an omega-3 essential fatty acid is also very important for the skin. So and water, I cannot express enough about drinking half your body weight in ounces of water. And that can include like chamomile tea or any kind of an herbal tea, but it certainly does not include coffee or drinks of those kind of things. Digestive imbalances contribute to congestion, and so we know that daily use of enzymes. I take 2 enzymes every meal at least, and sometimes when I'm a little congested from eating too much bread or whatever, I will take 2 plant enzymes in between meals to help move the congestion out of the fluid. And you can tell when you're congested because you want to cough up phlegm and that. So don't eat foods that congest, and do eat fresh veggies and fruit. So this is a picture of cleavers, and we have these in our throughout our lawn, throughout our, it's a weed that grows pretty profusely. And if you pick it, it's almost like Velcro. It'll stick to everything. It'll stick to your hands even. So it's really quite an interesting herb. And it helps with attracting the congested mucus. So it pulls stuff out of the lymph and cleans it up. Red clover is also a very good herb that supports the lymphatic system. It actually is has a lot of benefits. If you want to do some research on red clover, I have some research papers in my website, bornforhealth.com, that if you look on the left-hand side when you pull that my website up, it'll say Herb Encyclopedia, and you can look up these herbs and see what they do. But they are known by herbalists. There's Stillingia and prickly ash as well, and they help move out congestion. There's some essential oils that are very good. Now, lemon and bergamot and pink grapefruit are herbs that are not used in the summertime, but they're wonderful for spring and fall. The reason is that they make you more photosensitive. So in other words, if you use a lot of lemon or bergamot or pink grapefruit, you will be more susceptible to the sun's rays and possibly get burnt quicker. So the herbs of burdock and garlic and lobelia, mullein, sage, and yellow dock in combination can also be beneficial for the lymphatic system. In fact, I've had people who have had breathing issues like asthma use lobelia and just rub it on their chest and put a little bit in some hot water and sip on it. And their asthma symptoms seem to just go away. A lot of times people can do that and then use their medicine that they breathe in. So emotions and lymph, there's a huge relationship to being stuck. So if you're feeling stuck, it can impact our breathing and in return our lymphatic flow. You can try to keep fluid open, and this connection of body and mind will help keep fluids from congesting. And I love that quote by Henry Ford: if you think you can do a thing or you think you can't do a thing, you're right. So really your mind has a huge impact on your health. So positive attitudes, singing and laughing, all can help keep things flowing. So do this mind-body connection. It's a way that you think and feel, and the deep-seated belief patterns you hold can all contribute to the development of disease or health. So being rigid of mind, it actually deters from health. And so if you have any questions and you want to ask them, you can ask them now. All right, you have to unmute yourself if you are.
Yeah. Hi, how are you?
Go.
Hey, is it just us? Goodness.
Right now.
Yeah, I saw, my name's Rindy. I saw the ad for this webinar on my friend Terry Ewald's Facebook page.
Oh, very good. Yeah, I love Terry.
Yeah, I'm another Nature Sunshine distributor and naturopath and inform coach, and I wanted to see how you did yours, because I'm going to launch my immune program very soon, and I'm just spying on everybody, and I want to say thank you. It was very informative.
Well, I want to thank you. And you know, you can share these videos with people. You can put it on Facebook and have a share party. There are many ways that these videos can be used and I welcome you to use them, because I feel that the more people that understand how their immune system works and how effective they can be in supporting better health, the less scared they will be. And
Mhm.
I cannot tell you how many people have, and you probably have experienced this too, the level of anxiety that people are going through during this time. And it's so wrong, because they're not allowing the freedom of language and freedom of speech as we should in America. We should be able to express this to people, to use vitamin D, to use vitamin C to support their systems. And there's just nobody talking about it, because everybody wants that vaccine. If they can get people scared enough, then they can uh, demand the vaccine. And I think that's furthest from freedom that we can go.
Right. And we know what a good combination that fear and vaccines are. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, and how successful flu vaccines have been in the past. They've been like 30 to 35% successful.
Yeah, but you're already suppressing your immune system, and then you go stick yourself. It's like,
Yeah,
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 let's
yeah.
try to see how that. Yeah. So I know I've been nervous to launch anything, and using uh, because of all the restrictions, Facebook out to get you.
Well, and
So
for two
I just
years,
need to
yeah, for
not.
2 years I did use Facebook Live, and I loved it. But then I was starting to get it wouldn't be there, and they were censoring to the point where I switched to MeWe, and I'm trying to move all my people over to MeWe so that I can be have more freedom of speech and share with people what epidemiologists and uh, biologists and that are talking about, so that we can have an objective sense of what we want to do. I'm not doing this to tell people what to do, but to give them a platform where they can see that there are other pathways out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I encourage you to start. Zoom is an excellent platform to do it. Uh, it can record for you. I found it to be very helpful. I'm still learning it. There are a
Yeah.
lot of things that I don't know how to do, so I'm not very proficient in it, but it's been a good thing for me.
Great. Where are you located?
I'm in Michigan.
Oh, okay. I'm in Chicago. So
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, we've been, the
Mhm.
wonderful governor that restricts everything.
Yeah, we've got one too.
Yeah.
Except, you know what though? We are considered essential. I can still be open.
Boy, you wouldn't know. I work I'm the naturopath in a clinic it's a family run clinic, and there are 3 other chiropractors, and you would not believe the hoops we've had to go through. Uh, we can only treat in one room. It's called a safe room. Uh, People come in and out that room. They can't interface with any part of the office. They text us when they arrive. Doctor has to open the door, let them in. They have to arrive in a mask. They bring their own sheets. It's unbelievable, the restrictions. Uh, because people have been misinformed and they think that this COVID virus is the worst thing. Well, let me tell you, you probably understand. Ebola was 10 times worse.
Oh gosh.
And
Yeah.
SARS, they were dying in droves in the hospital from SARS.
Mhm.
This is nothing. We have a 98%
Mm.
survival rate from this, and it's only the people that are immune compromised and older that don't take care of themselves that are falling under this, COVID. So. But I want to thank you for sharing. I'm going to stop the recording right now, but if you have further questions, then you can stay on.